Yep, good to go. If you're ready, Yann, you can get started.
To other packages, and I will show the example of Siesta, for example. You have different packages which also which which can be used by Abinit and Siesta, but of course both codes have different build systems and different philosophies. So there needs to be a bit more than just these very simplistic wrappers. And so what has happened in the last couple of years is to be able to use different solutions. We have started to improve the build systems and test suites of the packages in Siesta, starting with the common ones that there were for Abinit. So now libpsml, for example, has a standard build system, AutoTools based. The same, we have done the same for libfdf. libgridxc is work in progress, as well as Fluke. And other dependencies, of course, came already with standard build system like libint or netcdf. Also Vanier 90, which is also a common dependency of both, was, let's say, I provided already quite some time ago a standard build system for it. What also happens with, I would say, it's not really when you want to generate pseudo potentials, for example, the you may use the same program with Abinit and Siesta, but in different conditions. For example, Abinit is able to process the output of ONCV PSP, so to use the potentials generated in the native format of ONCV PSP, but Siesta requires a PSML patch. What happens is that since Abinit is also able to use the PSML, we want to distribute also the ONCV PSP with the PSML patch. And since this is not always trivial to have everything working after applying this patch, so we want to have an automated solution and robust solution to do this. So just to summarize what we have. So for Abinit, we have some dependencies that here we will exclude for the moment. Big DFT, because the version of Big DFT which is used by Abinit is a heavily patched one, and so for this we will wait. Simple dependency like Atompo can be managed very easily with just one config file. And then some of the dependencies of Siesta, so libgridxc, are of interest to other codes, so we put them as also priority. And we want first to have everything working for the common dependency of the codes. And of course, we don't want to take care of some parts like MPI, linear algebra, things like HDF5 or FFT. So we want something which is already provided, and EasyBuild actually provides all of these components that we need. So removing a lot of complexity from our side to manage. So the efforts started, let's say, individually, but they are now performed collaboratively within the electronic structure library. So just for people who do not know about it, to briefly summarize it, it's an initiative which aims at providing modular software components to either to build new electronic structure codes or to improve the structure of existing codes, and also to for newcomers to reduce the learning step that they have to go through. So the ESL works through the usual source code repositories that you can find. So now we are moving most of the code to gitlab.com with mirror on GitHub. some components are developed through Bitbucket and Launchpad, so it depends on the preference of developers. So the ESL organizes monthly video conferences and also yearly coding workshops, which is where most of the efforts are performed. So we have very intensive 2 weeks usually where we advance most of the ESL projects. And also everything can be found on the wiki, and where we will enhance soon things about documentation about good practices and all related topics. So through the ESL, what we do is so we have since last year what we have called the ESL demonstrator, which is a very small electronic structure code that uses both plane waves, so like Abinit, or atom-centered orbitals like Siesta, and which is built from the different components of the ESL, which are where the dependencies of Siesta and Abinit are included. So to manage the dependencies, we internally we use a bundle that is based on GHBuild. So GHBuild was the build system of GNOME, but can be also used for more projects with just very little tuning. So it proved to be a very interesting solution for us up to now. And since now it starts to be working pretty well, we have started just in our yearly workshop this month, so 2 weeks ago, the repository of easy configs for all these dependencies that I've shown before. So this is still in a relatively early stage. So the point is to every 6 months, what we want to do is to produce a release of the ESL bundle. So with new versions of all these libraries and packages that I've shown before, for 2 EasyBuild toolchain. So once the ESL bundle is released, we produce the easy configs for the FOSS and Intel. So the current one, and we prepare also for the upcoming one. So our aim is to release 1 month before each new version of the toolchain will be released by EasyBuild, and to propose to send the pull requests as soon as possible when these toolchains are published. And then, yeah, on top of the ESL bundle, I've started to maintain also an Abinit bundle and a Siesta bundle, because the ESL bundle does not contain all the dependencies of Abinit and Siesta, and this is done in a way that it keeps synchronized always with the ESL bundle. So now we are at the first release cycle. So we this time we won't propose the easy configs for the FOSS and Intel 2019A, but we think that for the 2019B things will be ready, and we'll be able to include them in EasyBuild. So to summarize these efforts that started in 2017, sorry. So in 2017, we first implemented a proof of concept in the University of Canterbury, where I am now. And we have started to share between 2017 and 2019 the easy configs produced with partners and gathered some feedback. And then I started to submit some pull requests last year to EasyBuild to start collaborating with the developers of EasyBuild. And so now, just now, we have started this integration phase of easy configs into the ESL. So the files are there and you can access them on gitlab.com. But then it will be in 6 months that we will be able to to share them with EasyBuild. And next stage will be to start managing Ab init and Siesta dependencies through this this strategy. So in this talk, I've shown you briefly how we have gone from ad hoc solutions to manage the dependencies of electronic structure codes to a global solution that hopefully will be used robustly and on the long run. And from my side, from the experience I've had with EasyBuild so far, I have a little wish list, which is for me the most important thing is that it gets proper Python 3 support, because this is becoming more and more difficult to get it working with Python 2 on recent machines. What happens in our HPC cluster is that we often run out of space because we have a group quota, and so that would be nice to have an uninstall feature in EasyBuild so that we are pretty sure not to remove the wrong files. Also, sometimes, I've seen that the style of the easy configs is changing over time, and it's not always easy to know which is the most up-to-date best practice to write new easy configs or to improve the existing ones. And oops, sorry. And yes, for easy blocks, I also encounter some issues writing easy blocks, because sometimes I write it on a machine and it works on that machine, and I move to another machine and it stops working, and I'm not able to always find why. So that would be nice to have some more information on this. Okay, so that's all from my side. So I thank the organizer for having given me this opportunity to share this experience, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Yann. Can you hear me for questions?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. There's a question on the chat.
The chat.
And
okay.
Actually, it's the same question I had as well. So you're collecting these ESL bundled easy configs in the GitLab repo.
Yeah.
Do I get that right? That after 6 months you plan to contribute them back into the central easy configs repository, or is that going to keep?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So that's the point. But we want to have them first in a repository of our own to test them ourselves. So
that means you will always be one generation behind the latest common tool chains, or?
No, what we okay when we when we release the ESL bundle, in principle, it should be 1 month before the new EasyBuild toolchain. So we first produce easy configs for the current toolchain, and then when the new toolchain is published 1 month later, we will test. We will produce the corresponding easy configs and test them and send also a pull request for them.
Right.
So basically, you might have 2 pull requests: one when we publish the ESL bundle for the current tool chains, and 1 month later or 1 month and a half later, another pull request for the new tool chain.
Right. So you'll do an update of the tool chain in place, and then make sure
Yes.
it still works with the new compilers and so on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
yeah, because sometimes we have some very bad surprises with new compiler versions.
Yep. No kidding, indeed. Any other questions in the room? No, I do have 1 or 2 more questions. So it looks like you're trying to convince the electronic structure code community to switch or at least adopt EasyBuild for installing all dependencies and the code themselves. How much effort did it take to convince people that this was a good idea?
I would say it depends on how long people have been using a different solution. For example, for Siesta, that was not very difficult. They could see the value of it relatively quickly. But for Abinit, this is still very hard to convince people to to give, let's say, to give up a bit on the Abinit fallbacks, because it's really deeply entrenched in their habits.
Okay, and one more question. You mentioned that Python 3 support is on the top of your wish list because you're starting to run into problems on really new systems.
Yeah.
What kind of systems are these? Which operating system?
For example, I installed recently Ubuntu 18.4, and I have some inconsistencies because if I want to use EasyBuild there, I have to install a Python 2. Okay, there are two problems here. I start to have some inconsistencies when I install Python 2 packages, and another thing is that yeah, the virtual env. This is it. The virtual env. No, I don't know. There is something with its dependencies that is not working completely well in this new version, because sometimes I got it. It looks for Python modules in the wrong directories. So.
Okay. And do I get it right that Python 3 is default in the latest Ubuntu?
Yes,
as a
I
system
think so,
Python? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's a very good point. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed yesterday during the talk, but Python 3 support is on the top of our wish list as well for EasyBuild 4. So
yeah, I saw some mentions of it.
So hopefully
recently,
in the coming months we'll actually tackle that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much, Yann, for taking the time.
Okay, thanks a lot.